I've been in law enforcement for the past 28 years, and I've learned a lot about society and a lot about people. And including people, I mean myself. But I will tell you one thing. We are dealing with what I'll call the Great Collapse. It's a parenting authority and the Great Respect collapse. What if I told you that the advice to be your child's friend is secretly fueling a respect crisis in our homes and our schools? For the last 20 years, we've been fed a steady diet of new parenting philosophy. We've been told that traditional parenting is too harsh and that the authority is a dirty word. This led to a huge push for gentle parenting, a style that, on paper, is all about empathy and understanding. But here's the question. In our race to be liked by our kids, have we accidentally raised a generation that doesn't actually respect us? Something is in the air across the country. Teachers are talking about it, feeling completely overwhelmed by classroom disruption and defiance. Parents are whispering in online forums, and their own home feels like battlegrounds over the simplest requests. This feels different. This isn't just kids being kids anymore. It feels like a fundamental shift in adult-child dynamic. Today we're investigating what I'm calling the Great Respect Collapse. We'll dig into how we got here, and more importantly, what it really takes to build our authority back up and raise respectful, resilient kids in this world. And this world is definitely wild. Let's just call it what it is. It's a crisis of command. When the people who are supposed to be in charge, parents, teachers, coaches, no longer feel like they are, the whole system starts to wobble. And this isn't just a feeling. The numbers tell the same story. This is about our schools. We'll say 23% of elementary teachers and a staggering 27% middle school teachers say disrespect is a major problem. And it only gets worse as the kids get older. We're not just talking about passing notes in class. We're talking about students openly scrolling in their phones during a lesson, sending rude emails to staff, in a culture where defiance is often seen as funny. Remember those devious licks? Trends on social media, vandalizing our own school became, a path to online fame. And at home, it's just as obvious. Parents describing the constant eye rolling, door slamming, dismissive hair flips in a response to just a simple question. This isn't a healthy boundary pushing rebellion of past generations. It's a deep-seated belief that parents are peers, not leaders. Sociologists have even named this a collapse in power distance. The old hierarchies, where you automatically respected your elders just because, well, they were elders, have all but disappeared. A teenager with a phone can now reach a bigger audience than our world leader, which completely flattens the idea that experience or title means anything. And while every generation has complained about the youth for centuries, the sheer scale of this shift, supercharged by tech and culture, feels completely new. You can see the subtle signs everywhere, from the blank, challenging Gen Z stare that managers are now reporting in their workplace to the way young people expect to have a say in everything, seeing as a sign of disrespect if their opinion isn't heard. The old model of because I said so, it's gone, it's dead. The real question is, what have we replaced it with, and is it actually working? So how do we end up here? First, we have to look at the massive pendulum swing in parenting styles over the last 30 years. Many of today's parents were raised by baby boomers, or the silent generation. And those households were often authoritarians. The rules were strict, especially in our house. Punishment was the go-to tool, and there wasn't a lot of space for kids' feelings. And that's definitely true in our house. It worked for creating compliant kids, but it often sacrificed connection. Naturally, when millennials and Gen X started having their own kids, they swung hard in the other direction. They wanted to be more connected and more empathetic and way less rigid. This gave the birth to what we call gentle parenting. It's a movement. And in its pure form, it's an evidence-based approach that's all about empathy and respect. But then social media gets a hold of it, and through that distorted lens, the nuanced philosophy got squashed into a simplistic and damaging mantra. Never say no, never punish, and always put your child's happiness first. Bullshit. This misrepresentation created what we now call permissive parenting. Parents became terrified of setting firm boundaries because they were afraid it would hurt their child's self-esteem or damage their precious bond. They started giving kids autonomy way too early, asking a 5-year-old to make decisions they were completely unequipped to handle. We essentially removed the vitamin no from their development diet. As one psychologist pointed out, the internet's version of gentle parenting told you what to do first, but then gave you zero tools on when the child still says no or piss off. The result? Parents are burning out, and the kids are growing up without guardrails they desperately need to feel safe and secure. It's so clear that even Gen Z parents, the first generation raised on these ideas, are now reportedly ditching gentle parenting for more old school, tough love approaches. They saw firsthand that when kindness turns into free for all, nobody wins. Then we have the digital second parent. The second major force here is definitely technology, but this goes way beyond just screen time. For Gen Z and Gen Alpha, technology has become a digital second parent. And it's a parent that's way more fun and I'd say permissive than the real ones. Social media in particular has become an engine for normalizing defiance. We see it every day. It's a world where students prank on each other or prank on a teacher can go viral, rewarding the mockery of authority with thousands of likes and shares. We've seen this in law enforcement. In this digital world, there are no traditional hierarchies. Expertise means very little. And peers' half-baked opinion on a TikTok video can feel just as valid as a teacher's lesson or a doctor's medical advice. On top of that, pop culture has been glorifying entitlement for years. Do you guys remember MTV? Remember what was that called? My Super Sweet 16? It literally made a spectacle of spoiled, demanding teenagers and framed them as inspirational. Today's influencers champion radical self-expression and tell their followers that social norms are just suggestions. This creates a powerful script that tells young people their every desire is valid and that boundaries are just obstacles to their personal journey. When a kid spends hours a day in the world and tells them that they are the center of the universe, is it any wonder that they can't handle a simple no from a parent, no from a law enforcement officer, no from a teacher, no from a coach? They're being co-parented by devices and culture that actively undermines the adults in their lives. The final piece of this puzzle is a deep culture shift on what respect even means. For older generations, respect was transactional. You gave it to your elders, teachers, and bosses simply because their position demanded it. That world is gone and gone forever. For Gen Z and Gen Alpha, respect isn't a given. It's to be earned through trust, authenticity, and reciprocity. This is a generation that refuses to tolerate disrespect from their elders, just because of an old school power dynamic. They are the generation pushing back against toxic work environments. They're focusing us all to be more accountable. The problem is this can look pure defiance to an adult who isn't used to it. And there is a huge disconnect. In one survey, 99% of teachers said that they respect their students. But 58% of all students said they actually felt respected by their teachers. And this is a problem. This generation sees challenging authority as protecting their mental health and standing up for their values. They school their parents on social issues and question workplace norms, not just to be difficult, but because they genuinely believe the old systems are broken. So while critics see a lack of empathy and a rise in narcissism, you could also argue that this is a generation with a powerful sense of self-respect. one that's simply just not willing to play along with the system they see as fake or unfair. So maybe the Great Respect collapse isn't a collapse. Maybe not a collapse at all, but a radical reinvention of what respect should be. If this is hitting home for you and you're wrestling with these challenges in your own life, you should probably subscribe to my channel. We get into these tough topics, typically every week, to help you navigate this modern maze. Reclaiming authority without reverting to tyranny. So where do we go from here? Their answer is not to swing the pendulum all the way back to the cold. I knew I was going to get tongue twisted. Authoritarian parenting of the past. That ship has sailed and is long gone. The way forward is to build a new kind of authority, one that is both empathetic and incredibly firm. And again, incredibly firm. Some are calling it a lighthouse effect, or lighthouse parenting. A lighthouse doesn't try to steer ships. It stands firm, providing a steady, stable beacon of light to guide the ship safely to shore. Here are 3 ways you can start becoming that lighthouse today. First of all, be the parent, not the pal. Be the parent, not the pal or the friend. This goes right back to the question we started with. Your child has friends. They only have one of you. Remember, they only have one of you. They need a guide. This means you have to reestablish yourself as the loving leader of the family. A new trend among parents is boundaries with empathy. And it's brilliant. The formula is simple. I understand how you feel, and the limit is still here. It's about holding your line with kindness, but absolutely holding the line, not giving in. Your job isn't to be liked in every single moment. It's to prepare your child for the real world. Second, reintroduce vitamin no with confidence. So many parents have become allergic to conflict, and I mean allergic to conflict, so they just stop setting and enforcing limits. But back in like 2023 or 2024, studies showed that this doesn't just burn parents out, it actively harms a child's development. Kids who rarely hear no struggle more with emotional regulation, have weaker social skills, and clash with authority and structure later in life. And that's something we don't want. Setting a boundary isn't mean. It's a profound act of love. It teaches kids 2 vital lessons: that the world has rules, and more importantly, that they are strong enough to handle disappointment, and that is a bedrock of resilience. Third, model the respect you want to receive. This is the secret ingredient. This is where you have to admit the younger generation, they do have a point. If you want respect, you have to be respectable. This doesn't mean letting your child run the house. It means you actually listen to their perspective instead of immediately shutting it down. It means you apologize when you're wrong. I have to do it. It means you learn to manage your own emotions. Because your kids will absorb your chaos, but they'll also absorb your calm. Real authority isn't demanding through fear. It's earned through character, consistency, and integrity. Look, the Great Respect collapse isn't an indictment or a court hearing of our kids or even our parenting. It's a symptom of what world is changing and how fast it's changing at lightning speed. What are you seeing in your own homes and communities? Share your experiences on what's working for you in the comments below. Let's make a conversation about it. And for more deep dives into how to raise capable, resilient kids in this crazy-ass world, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell if you can. I really would appreciate it. Ultimately, this isn't a crisis to fear, but it definitely is a challenge to rise to. The goal of modern parenting isn't to command obedience, and it's not just to be their friend either. That's the big thing we need to understand. It's not just to be their friend either. The goal is to become a respected guide, the lighthouse, strong enough and steady enough to raise adults who are not only successful, but also kind, resilient, and respectful of themselves as well as others. That is the timeless heart of being a parent. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.